welcome to the Heartful Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Keating. In this podcast, we talk about it all, our parenting, our partnering, and our professional lives, because they are all a part of us, and we were never meant to do this alone. Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Heartful Parent Podcast. I am thrilled that you're here, and I am also really excited to introduce you to today's guest. Today, I'm talking with Fareedah Shaheed, also known on the interwebs as Cyber Fareedah, and this is a fun, not too long conversation about one aspect of cybersecurity that I think every parent needs to know about. So let me tell you about Fareedah first. She is an award-winning safety expert and a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree. She specializes in helping parents protect their kids online. Her work has been featured in Cisco, the Wall Street Journal, NASDAQ, NASA, Fox 46, Afrotech, NBC4, and many more. She's got a presence on YouTube. She's got a presence on Instagram. She sends out great newsletters, and she just is a prolific content creator to help parents keep kids safer. And I so appreciate her expertise. She spoke in the Safe Parenting Summit in 2023 and just shared such wisdom with the parents who attended that. And so I'm really excited to have her on the podcast, where we are going to talk about the photos that no parent should be posting on the internet. And what prompted this conversation is she sent out an email with a link to a PDF that she created about the 13 photos that, parents need to be aware could be dangerous on the internet. It's a fabulous download that can help all of us, build a little bit more awareness about what we're posting and what might not be the best idea to be posting. So we dig into that in this conversation. Those of you who have followed my work for any amount of time know that I'm a proponent of, safe parenting, not fear-based parenting, but safe parenting, brain and body safe parenting. And a piece of that, that I do is talk about internet safety and building a healthy family media culture and all of those things. But Fareedah really approaches this from a different angle because she is a true cybersecurity expert. And so I even got my mind blown a couple of times, really just opened things up for me in the course of this conversation in the way that we think about some things. So I think you're going to learn a ton. If you haven't met Fareedah before, you're going to love her. She's fabulous. Without further ado, Fareedah Shaheed. Fareedah, I am so excited to have you on the Heartful Parent Podcast. This is great fun for me to reconnect with you after the Safe Parenting Summit. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Christy. You're amazing. I love the summit. So many people love the summit, honestly. I got a lot of messages about it.
Oh, I'm so glad that you did. I did as well. And I'm looking forward to doing it again in 2024. But there's a long gap between the summits. And you have so much to say in this space of online cybersecurity and our kids and how we need to be keeping our kids safe. And, I said this in the intro, but when I got your email, because I'm on your mailing list, of course, because you send out such great stuff. But when I got your email about 13 pictures that you should never post of your kids online, I immediately emailed you and was like, we got to talk about this. We got to get this information into the hands of as many parents as we can. So I'm curious, Fareedah, well, let's actually back up because I'm like gung-ho ready to, move forward. For those who have not met you before and are not familiar with your work, let's talk a little bit about your story and how you got into this line of work, because you're not an old lady like me.
You are not old.
Well, let's just say you're a few years younger. And yet you've got this incredible platform where you're talking about safety. So talk to me about that. And then I'd love to hear what prompted you to write this particular thing about the 13 photos.
So I have a background in cybersecurity awareness and threat intelligence. Before that, I was a 13-year-old kid that was obsessed with online gaming and obsessed with talking to strangers online. And I had amazing, beautiful, awesome memories. I met some great people online, but I also met some terrible people. I had some very traumatic incidents as a kid that still haunt me sometimes to this day. I'm like, damn, I'm working through that. And I believe that I worked enough through it, so I'm okay. But it prompted me to care a lot about safety and security. But I didn't realize that until I started working in corporate and I started to talk to families and more specifically mothers with kids that are gamers, because anytime I would mention, okay, as someone who's an online gamer, the parents in the audience would be like, wait, pause, wait a minute. You're a gamer. Okay. I have a question because my daughter was doing this on Roblox. My son was saying this on Among Us. Like, can you please talk to me about this? What's happening? And so I started to, outside of my corporate work, I started to do workshops. I started to create online content, which wasn't the goal. I just started creating it. And then it just happened to be something. And then I started a business on helping parents protect their kids online. And that's what I do today. And that's what I love. And I always say I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. And I remember one person asked me, no, did they ask me? It was yesterday or today. Someone asked me, so what does it look like you being 70 years old, still creating content online? Like, how does this work?
I'm with you. Like, it's really amazing when you find something that you love doing that you want to do for the rest of your life. And of course, the irony for me is I've had two careers that I love doing and thought I would do. My first career, I thought I'd do forever and I didn't, but I'm so glad that I did it for as many years as I did. And now, this act two for me, the thing I think is so powerful at this moment in time in the work that you're doing is you're not a parent, but you are far closer to those, and you have those memories. Like, you grew up with the internet in a way that I did not, that many of us who are parenting did not. And because of that, you're so relatable, and parents know that you know what's up because you've been there, you've done that, you've experienced it. And that is just, it's so powerful in, your voice in the world, in this space in the world. So, coming at this as a gamer, and of course, now I know you look at social media and you talk about all the different avenues that kids are using to get online and all the different risks. But oftentimes it's not kids that are creating the risk, right? It's not a child going on Roblox, talking to a stranger. It's the parents who are inadvertently creating risk for their kids, which is, this handout. What prompted you to create your list of 13 photos? And, what are the things that were that prompted it in terms of the worries or the risks to families and to kids?
So like you said, I come into this conversation from 2 points of view. One, as someone who was a teenager. I mean, Facebook came out when I was finishing middle school. And I went from a flip phone quickly to an iPhone, a year later, maybe 2 years later after my Nokia. Well, I had Nokia and all that. So I grew up in that era where it's we were going online. Now you went from snake games on your Nokia phone to mobile games on your phone. You're playing Angry Birds, that entire generation. And so I had a lot of time to spend online, basically. But I also come from the cybersecurity and threat intelligence point of view of someone who's worked in corporate, went to college for cybersecurity, though I opted out of college. I didn't finish it. That's a whole other discussion. And so as I scroll through the internet, I see certain things and I'm realizing a lot of people, when they're posting online, they're not coming from a point of view of understanding how the internet works and understanding how it works in terms of a security point of view. So they're just hey, I'm about to go on vacation, or and I'm going to post the picture of my passport, just not your actual passport. Most people don't do that, but they'll just do the front facing the passport. And then they would, as an added bonus, they'll put their boarding pass in the picture. Yeah, hey, I'm headed to Morocco this weekend. And they would put that into the photo, not realizing that the barcode on your ticket is giving a hacker or someone a lot of information about you and your travel information confident in who you are as a person. And most people don't know that. So, or I would be scrolling through TikTok and there is a mom influencer who's like really excited because she just got a package from Amazon and she's trying to show us like the new Amazon buy. And I'm very close to like clicking on the Amazon storefront button because I want to buy it too. Like I'm not judging her.
Yeah. Yep.
But then I look and I see that when she opens up the Amazon box, you can see the address on the Amazon box. And so those videos prompted me like, you know what, let me just write down all of the things that I'm seeing online and let me make a YouTube video about it. So this list used to be a YouTube video. And then I decided to change it into a PDF because sometimes that's more consumable, more user-friendly, and you can quickly like read it and then share it with your friends.
I love that. And oh my gosh, so I've never posted my passport or a boarding pass online. I feel pretty confident that I've never done that. But honestly, I did not know that barcode, like if posted, had information in it. That is mind blown right there. And as you know, like I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I do some work in this safety space for our kids. And I did not know that. So
there's a lot of, it's like if someone really wants to get information about your family, they will figure something out. Even with like school uniforms, they will go, okay, they said that they live in this area of the country and they said, and their child is wearing a uniform. So most likely that's a private school. So I know that they're narrowing it down. Then the type of uniform, then they're going to go, okay, so what other kids are wearing this uniform? Did they post where their kids are going to school? And so it becomes very narrow and typically that's more like a targeted attack. But when you're posting things online consistently, there are dings in the system for someone to be like, okay, there's a lot of photos of her kids. I can figure out where they go every Sunday, their family vacations, who they talk to. And so the more mindful we are, the better. My intention for the list and even for this conversation is not to scare people into feeling like you can't do anything and you can't post cute pictures of your kids. And like, I'm not on that bandwagon. I don't like it. I believe that you make conscious decisions with the information that you have. And the more you have, the better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as you know, because the Safe Parenting Summit, my whole philosophy around that was we're not using fear-based education. We're creating awareness and letting parents take good, solid, reliable, fact-based information and do something with it, as opposed to a lot of the, crap, frankly, that's out there in this day and age, misinformation and disinformation on the internet, right? So yeah, I really like that idea of being intentional and thoughtful about it. And there is the real awareness that, again, to go back what we said a few minutes ago, because parents like me did not grow up with the internet. Email came out in my senior year of college. Like it did not even exist. And when it came out, people were like, what do you do with this email thing?
It's like, what's email?
Which just
email?
To me now sounds totally, like a totally foreign idea, but we forget how rapidly things have changed. And so something you said really caught my attention before we dive into the list. Obviously, we want to protect our kids from, as you said, a targeted attack. And, we know, and I've done episodes about this, and I talk about this regularly, that as a general rule, strangers are not the biggest concern to our kids, right? 93% of child sexual abuse, for example, happens at the hands of people known to us and our kids. But that doesn't mean that we want to hand all of our information over and enable something like that to happen. But those kind of targeted attacks are not the only risk. So share with us a little bit, what are other risks that we need to be thinking about in what we post?
Really modeling what you want your kids to do. So if you're in a space where if something happens with your family or a cute moment or embarrassing moment or whatever moment that you felt this is shareable and you post it online without second thought, but you're teaching your kids not to do the same, it doesn't really work. And so your kids are going to be modeling the behaviors they see in you. So if your kid feels like, oh, if I go to my friend's house, I can videotape them without asking them for permission. I can post it online because it doesn't matter. If something happens at school, I can take a picture of someone and post it on Instagram or make a TikTok about it. And we see this all the time where everyone feels okay with taking a very, very vulnerable moment and putting it online without ever consulting anybody else. And so the more that you do that, the more your children feels empowered to do whatever as well. And so they're also not being safe online. But even more than that, if your child feels like this was a moment that I didn't want the world to know, but you didn't respect a boundary and you didn't ask me, they're now being trained in their brain that my boundaries does not matter. And someone can do something to me that feels wrong in my gut, but because they love me, it's okay. And so they don't know the difference between mom loving me or some crazy person loving me or a stranger loving me. And so someone online can do something to violate their boundaries and their privacy and in the name of love, and they'll take it in a very similar way that they take it when they're talking with their parents. And it sounds bizarre, but if you were to think of it from a child's point of view or a teenager's point of view, what's the difference between someone who has become friends with them online asking for a picture, an innocent picture, or you posting a picture that they didn't want online that you didn't ask them about?
Okay. Again, I work in this space, Fareedah, and that perspective on it is, I think, a really important one for parents to wrap their head around. And I've never heard it worded quite like that. And I teach parents all the time that bodily autonomy is so critical, that when our child puts up a boundary and I don't want to hug, I don't want to kiss, I don't want to sit on your lap, that it's really important that we honor that. And yet we turn around, and I know parents in my circle who are not bad people, by the way, are wonderful people.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I like to believe that everyone listening to this podcast has the best interests of their kids at heart.
Same here.
Who would never push through the physical boundaries of a child, right? You don't want to kiss, I won't kiss you. But don't hesitate to post something online without permission, or even in the face of knowing that their child doesn't want them to. And the bigger message that sends, as you just pointed out, is critical.
Yeah, it's like your boundaries don't matter. And it's not, I don't believe that this is a black and white issue. So I don't believe that any parent that's listening to this that has posted a picture of their kid online, you're absolutely violating your child's boundary. And then now they're going to feel like I can't trust my parent anymore. It's more the intention behind it. So of course, we know that you don't have that intention when you're posting a cute photo, but going back and asking your kid, did they even feel that way? Because some kids may not really care. It really depends on your child. Right. So if you sit down with them, and I did like a YouTube live stream on this, where there's a couple of YouTube videos where parents and teens were talking, and then the kids, like younger kids, like 7 to 10 years old, talking to their parents about how do they truly feel about their pictures being posted to Facebook or Instagram or whatnot. And some of the kids were like, you know what, I really don't care so long as you don't post embarrassing moments. There's just one photo I didn't want you to post because I started getting bullied about it in school. So it would be nice if sometimes you would ask me before you did it. But in general, like if it's a family, like a group photo, it's fine. And then one of the kids in the video said, you know what, I actually didn't like that picture you took of me on the beach because I didn't like how my body looked. And you said, oh no, it's fine, it's okay. But that picture became something that was used against me in school or with my friends, or they were poking fun at me. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. And yeah, the parent responded to her child saying, well, you're at the beach and everyone saw you in the bikini or the swimwear. Like, why does it matter? And they're like, yeah, someone in real life seeing me. But if someone takes a picture of me and then puts it online and it stays online forever, that's a completely different scenario. So I would really appreciate if you understood the difference between, and I really loved those series of videos that I reacted to, because it showed that some kids don't care, some do. It depends on the circumstance. So it's never black and white. It's just something to be conscious of and be aware of. And then as you move forward, go like, okay, as you reach this certain age, I understand that you want to have more, you just want autonomy over your life, and you want to start making decisions. And it helps them understand, okay, as I grow older, I'm going to college, I'm going with my friends, I'm going out. How do I make sure that I respect other people's boundaries and then make sure that my boundaries are respected as well? So I don't want anyone listening to this to feel like, oh, I made a horrible mistake and to beat yourself up about it. We all make mistakes. I've done like things online or said things online or was like, I don't think that was the best. I don't think I should have done that. I shouldn't have said that. And it's okay. Like all it takes is just for you to decide, okay, I didn't know that at that time. I did the best that I could with the information that I had.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to forgive myself. It's okay. I'm a human being. Now I know this information. So what would feel more likely for me to implement? Like what feels okay for me? Can I ask my kid, hey, like, I know you don't like me posting vacation photos, but you're really, really cute. Is there any type of photo that you feel more comfortable with me sharing? Because I really want to share this moment I had with you. I know that you're uncomfortable. So just let me know what would make you comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. A couple thoughts came up as you were talking just now. And the first is recognizing each individual child and the developmental phase that they're in, because my older daughter, who, is 13, there was a time when she didn't really care. And, the more pictures I could take of her, the better.
Right? It's like, great.
Yeah. She would dance for the camera and, she was hysterical. And now she's really protective of that. And so I know to never post anything without her permission. But the other piece that really jumped out at me as you described that girl at the beach whose mom took a photo of her in a bathing suit. I don't know an adult, a pre-internet adult out there who didn't have moments in their college years or their high school years or whenever that we are real damn glad are not out there for people to see forever. God. And yes, I own it. There are certainly moments in my life that I'm real glad there was not a smartphone there to record. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so I hope that, that mom's sort of disbelief about that is an anomaly, and that most parents out there can understand that there is a difference between being at the beach in a bathing suit and having a photo of you in a bathing suit online forever. That's a difference.
It's a completely different. And thankfully, by the end of the video, she understood, and she was like, you know what? I can see it. I don't fully understand what you mean, but I can see where you're coming from. And I don't want you to be upset with me and not trust me. So I will ask a little bit more. And I know we're going to get into probably this conversation. It's like, okay, well, some kids are not at that point. Like you can't really ask your 3-year-old, can I post a cute picture of you? Like it doesn't really work.
Yeah, you can't. But you know what I started doing a number of years ago after speaking with another person in this space, is I actually created a group on Facebook that I only invite, there's only family members and very close friends, and not even all family, frankly.
Like close people.
Right. Really close people. And I tend to only share photos of my kids and things there as opposed to, out on my larger Facebook profile. I'm not saying I never do, but that's been a way for me to kind of get some of those photos to people instead of having to email them to each person.
Or like Google Photos is good too. You can use like Dropbox. You can use mostly Google Photos is great because most people have a Gmail, and other people, you have a Gmail most likely, and other people have Gmail. So it's easier. So that's a good way. Like just any services you use, you can drop it there. And this doesn't mean that you can't have an occasional like cute photo here and there online in public. You just have to decide what you want and what is the risks of it and what type of content are you making and how much are you going to post and when are you going to have that discussion. And I'm also of the belief system of asking when they're young, even if they don't understand. So you're in the habit of it and they're understanding that, oh, like my say so in this actually matters. Even if it's like you're the one who's ultimately making the decision, you're just getting into the habit of being like, hey, I'm going to post this on Facebook. Like, this is the post. And of course, they're going to say yes. If they're just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. It's similar to I'm not an expert in this. You're an expert in this in terms of like talking about asking for consent before you're taking off clothes or that type of conversation. I know a lot of people do the same with that. And so, and everyone has different points of view with that. I'm not going to get to this discussion because I don't know anything about that, but it's very similar to that conversation.
Yeah. Again, you're sort of spurring thoughts in my head as I listen to that, I listen to you talk. And it strikes me that when we use something like a private Facebook group or Google Photos, like you described, that when we go back to the intention behind the photo, right now I'm sharing photos because I know there are specific people in my circle that want to see photos of my kids that want to be kept up to date on their goings-ons. If we post on a larger platform, all my Facebook friends or public post, that's really not about my kids or the people receiving the photo. That's really about me, right? Wanting to say, hey, look over here. Look at my cute kids, right?
Okay.
And wanting the likes and the hearts and all that. And I get that. We are trained by social media companies to want that. But it is an interesting thought exercise to pause and say, am I posting this for myself, or am I posting this because there are legitimately people that give a shit?
Yeah, they actually want to see. I mean, it's good exercise because we all have to decide, okay, am I doing this with the best intentions? I mean, sometimes like my family, I am an only child, so I don't have any siblings, but I have like 170 something cousins, I believe. I don't even know how many cousins I have because my mother has like 14 brothers and sisters. And so it's impossible for the entire family to see what's happening. So a lot of people will post things on their Instagram account for everybody, just so that the hundreds of people in our family can see it, because we can't necessarily send them a Google photo link. Now, our family's so big that we have a family newsletter, we have family quarterly meetings, weekly meetings. We have it's a whole thing. So there is a way where our family, we do have a little Google Photos. I don't think we use Google Photos. I don't remember what we use, but you can drop it into maybe a Dropbox, and then it'll go into like the family presentation, and they'll update the family tree of like all the hundreds of new babies we have every year. And so
I love that. Oh my God. It's so polar opposite from my family, where I have like, I'm it, right? Like on my mom's side of the family, I got no cousins. I've got nothing.
Oh my God.
I know. And no siblings.
No siblings. Oh, how was that experience? I guess it's another podcast for that.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah. Interesting impact on someone in the same way that having 14 siblings would have an impact on you. Right. So Fareedah, I want to go back. And, we started to dig into the risks. I love that you identified some risks that I had not even really thought about. And that's the modeling and the trust and the consent and all of it, like violating those things. And of course, there's the risk of strangers who would mean our children harm getting that information. I want to add in there, and you could probably talk more about this, but there's also the risk of identity theft if we post too much information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And at this point, AI, artificial intelligence, is getting so good that the more photos and videos and voice recordings you post, the easier it is for them to create like what they call deep fake videos, like fake videos of your kids doing things that they didn't actually do. And this has hit the news already. And I made a whole video on this on my YouTube around a child that was a target of a deep fake video. We don't know exactly what happened, but essentially someone made a fake video of her doing something that she was not supposed to do to get her kicked off of her cheerleading team. And those things are easier and easier to make as time goes on. Now, it's not perfect right now. So it does have like a lot of, the videos can feel a little bit fake depending on how well they're doing it. But even if you search on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube for deep fake Tom Cruise, I would Google that to see like how good these videos are. This deep fake of Tom Cruise is just an actor who knows Tom Cruise's mannerisms and how he talks very, very well. And he has a similar face shape as Tom Cruise, so it's easy to plaster on. And for anyone who's very, very confused by this conversation right now, just essentially think of a deep fake as photoshopping something, but instead of it being a photo, it's a video.
It's a video. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do when we finish here is go Google deepfake Tom Cruise. I mean, that is a whole nother level. That's a whole lot. So it feels really scary, and that we will need ongoing tools as a culture and as parents to think about and counteract. But let's dig in a little bit to, as you said, what was a YouTube video and what you ended up creating a PDF about. What are the 13 specific photos that you came up with that parents should be particularly cautious about posting?
I will group them. To be honest, I can't remember all of them in the order that I put it on, but I will group them based off of how they are in general. Okay. The first type of photo are any photo, and it's very uncomfortable to talk about, but the world is crazy. And so we have to think about this, is any photo that is exposing your child in any way. So it's if it's a bathing suit photo, it's a diaper photo, you're in the bath, it's a swimming photo. Those videos are those photos and videos are highly sought after by certain groups of people on creepy websites. And they have been known time and time again, no matter how big or small your audience is. So I don't care if you have 1,000 followers, 200 followers, or 20 million, of downloading those photos and videos, uploading them to websites because they're highly sought after. I was talking to Kathy Pedrayas, and she is a huge time, like a not child safety, but general safety content creator. And she said that she wanted to do a privacy focused photo for her child because she's in the privacy world. And so she didn't show the picture of her child's face. She showed a picture of her child's feet, and for the birth announcement. And she was totally fine with that photo until she came across like these news stories talking about how these creepy groups of people were downloading pictures of children's feet. Now that's
heard about this.
Yeah, that's something I actually did not put. There's a couple of types of photos I did not put in that list, is because it requires a much nuanced conversation that I didn't have time to go in. And it was better to just go into the bigger ones and the ones that most people are most likely going to do. And it's easier to explain in a quick PDF, one sheet. But that is something you want to be aware of in terms of, okay, you're trying to be great about it, but then someone's downloading that. So I know some parents have done it where they do like onesies or pajamas or whatever to cover their child up. But it just sounds like, why do I feel like it's victim blaming when I'm posting something? Like, why do I have to cover a child up because someone else is a creep? So there's a lot that goes into that. And I don't believe we have time for that, but that's one type of photo you want to be aware of. So you can post your kids or whatever, but just be mindful of that because that's highly downloaded. Another type of photo are just vacation photos or location specific photos. So let's just say you're taking a picture in front of your child's school or in front of the hotel that you're staying at for 2 weeks at the vacation that you're at. So you want to be mindful or saying, hey, I'm going on vacation. And now everyone knows that you're not at home for a particular amount of time. And being mindful of like the street signs in the background of any of your photos that you're taking. Are you going to be here for a long time? If you are, then wait until after you're done being in that location. And then another group, and I'll keep it to these three, we can go deeper into all of them, but another group is anything that is information specific. So if you're posting a picture of ultrasound or a birth announcement, or you're taking a picture of a school report card, anything of that sort where there's going to be information about your child, the full name, the date of birth, the hospital that they're at, the person, your doula or the doctor, all of those, that type of, you don't want that online as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got photos where kids are exposed, location photos, and this real, private or personal information photos, which makes total sense in terms of those categories. I actually wrote an article a couple of years ago now, because at the start of every school year, we see parents post a lot of photos of their kids, and at the end of the school year too, but photos of their kids and holding a sign that says,
school.
Right, I go to this school, I'm in this grade, and this is my teacher, and I like these things. And they're really cute. And I understand why parents want those. But I was seeing more and more of these photos online. And I thought, man, again, strangers are not the primary source of danger to our kids. But if I was a stranger who wanted to target a kid, I could find that kid in 2 seconds flat.
And they have. And it has happened many times. It's not just bigger creators. So if you're a mother or a father listening to this and you're like, oh, well, I don't really have a lot of followers, it doesn't really matter. It's actually easier sometimes to target families that don't have that big of a presence because they're not thinking that they're going to be someone who is going to be targeted with this. So,
yeah. So important for parents to think about. And, I think as I look at the list, because I do have it here, the other piece, and you've already talked about this, is not just photos where they're exposing them, but just the photos that your kids don't want you to post. Knock it off, guys. Public service announcement from the Heartful Parent Podcast and
Right.
Fareedah Shaheed, knock it off.
Yes,
Stop
please.
posting those, right?
Yeah, like you can find something and you can always be like, hey, my son hates me posting pictures of him on my Facebook account. So here's an older picture of him. Congratulations for graduating high school. I'm so proud of you. You can go through that whole thing. I mean, whatever it is, or you can say, you know what, I really want to post a picture of you graduating. I don't want to post a picture from like 6 years ago. Can I just at least get a shot of you walking away with your graduation hat? Like come up with like really cool ways where you can still share that sweet moment, but then honor their requests for not having their stuff online.
100%. Okay. So, well, you and I, having talked before, we have zero difficulty going on forever if we wanted to.
Absolutely, yes.
And as I told you before we hit record today, I know there are many more topics that are of interest to listeners. So Fareedah, we will definitely need to have you back on the podcast. I'm so grateful to you being here and helping us think about this idea of posting from a different angle, frankly. Your list of 13 photos that parents shouldn't post. Is there a place where our listeners can download that?
Absolutely. So if you go to, I don't have the website. Yeah, I didn't put it on my website yet, so I wouldn't say my website, but go to my Instagram account. It's Fareedah, and there is a resource library where all of my tips that I've ever created and every tip that I will create is all on there. And you can go there, and it's called the Internet Safety Resource Library. Download that, and then within that, there's going to be the tips.
Perfect. We will make sure that's in the show notes so that everyone knows how to find it. If you're not already following Fareedah on Instagram, she's at Fareedah. She's got fabulous information and tips on YouTube, on Instagram.
Thank you.
She sends out emails, and really from the perspective of someone who has been there and seen it, really some great information. Fareedah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was such a delight. I'm so happy I'm here.
I'm so happy too. This is a fun conversation, and I know people will get a lot out of it. And that's really the most important piece here. So thank you. Friends, thank you so much for joining me on the Heartful Parent Podcast today. I hope that you got a ton of value out of my conversation with Fareedah. I think it was a fun one. I learned some things. I'm hoping that you did too. And I also hope that you will go to Fareedah's Instagram page, seek out that resource center, and download this resource as well as perhaps some others that she has available. She puts a ton of content out there, absolutely free, to help parents keep their kids safe. So track her down, follow her stuff, and get your hands on that download. It is well worth it. As we wrap things up this week, I just want to be maybe a voice of positivity in your mind and remind you, mama, dada, grandma, grandpa, whoever you are, caregiver, if you're here, you care about kids. And I just want to remind you, you're doing okay. You're showing up, you're doing the best you can, and you're doing okay. On that note, I will see you next week on the Heartful Parent Podcast. Can't wait.